now it's TGIF. It is Friday. It is Rumor and Innuendo. I am Dominic DeAngelo of AdFreeShows.com, SEScoops.com, also OneTrueSportTV.com. And we have a Robert here, but yet again, hey, it's not the Robert you were expecting. It is Bobby Aloha, as I know him, but he is known as Robert DeFelice at Dude Felice on X. Robert, thanks for joining me again today. And a little bit of a time crunch it was. Uh-oh, never mind. He's not here anymore. He'll join back in a second, guys. But yes, we are live here on Rumor and Innuendo. Jake, thanks for joining in. Made it today. Crazy week. Was my birthday on 6/19. Happy belated, Jake. But I made it for R&I on a Friday. Hopefully the Y at 6 doesn't end this show early. Yeah, I hope so. Not, dude. That'd be real bad time. That real hard time. Stuart Green says, good afternoon, fellow R&I maniacs, and welcome back, Robert. I'm looking forward to SmackDown tonight. I'm hoping the same for a Wyatt 6 reaction. Yeah, we still got Robert DeFelice on here, but Robert will be back on Monday. He's had a little traveling stuff going down. So, Christopher Santos, let's get a pick with the Killers at Whataburger. At least they have good taste in burgers. Yes, that's very true. I actually never had Whataburger. Let's ask Robert if he's had one. Hey, Robert, welcome back.
I lost internet for a second. I guess the Y6
is taking over.
You know, I don't know what happened there. But have I had Whataburger? No, but I have had some delicious burger chains. I just haven't gotten around to Whataburger.
What's your best burger chain? Let me turn off my fan while you tell us.
Oh, it's Five Guys. Five Guys is expensive, but it's worth every penny. Five Guys is delicious. I like getting a triple patty with some A1 and some mayonnaise sauce in there. It's delicious.
Man. I like Five Guys. Big fan of In-N-Out when I went to California. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I want to try them. It sounds like they're really good, but so far the best I've had is Five Guys.
Well, we got a big burger this week in wrestling to close everything out when it comes to. We got to preview SmackDown. Kev Kellum joined me yesterday, your former cohort, and we talked a little bit of Dynamite, but we didn't go in depth on Dynamite, so I want to get your perspective on that. Cody Rhodes plans for SummerSlam, reports from Dave Meltzer of what they have slated for him, and then I want to maybe get your perspective on Shane McMahon if we have the time.
All right.
But let's start things off with what happened on Dynamite. Then we'll tackle SmackDown coming up. Yeah, so Dynamite, what did you think of that episode? Did it build to Forbidden Door? Did it make you more excited for it? Where's your head at on that, Robert, overall?
My head for Forbidden Door, I think AEW never misses with pay-per-views, but I do think the build to this one has been a little touch and go. You know, they're currently focused on a huge storyline with the Elite, and the Elite, outside of Jack Perry doing a ladder match, doesn't have a definitive match yet. I think MJF against Echiseto, while it should be a fun match, I don't know if it's a stop the presses, tune into Forbidden Door, MJF is wrestling Echiseto. You know, like, I think so. I think they're a little off, but I definitely think the action in the ring carries most of the AEW program anyway. I think that's how they've structured their whole company.
Yeah, it's funny, like, because MJF was like predicted on air what his match is going to be what his match at Forbidden Door is going to be. Get some Japanese guy or some guy from Mexico, and sure enough, we got CMML talent. So it's, the Forbidden Door concept as they're doing it right now is completely, I think, obsolete, because you have that going on more so in WWE, and they're doing a better job at it right now. And I thought Dynamite in some regards was pretty compelling when it comes to, like, I love Mark Briscoe. Like, he's just amazing as a promo backstage, and like they should really, really highlight him as one of their top talents, I think, at some point. But I also liked the confrontation between Swerve and Will Ospreay. However, like, Swerve kind of undersold the belt in certain ways. I'm going to say belt because the other Robert's not here, and so we have the freedom to do that.
So am I supposed to demand that you realize a belt is something that holds up your pants?
No, you don't have to realize that. Not when I'm around here, Robert. Not when I'm running this ship. Like, I'm going to go into like a power trip right now. But yeah, that's so yeah, I'm kind of like, Dynamite had some cool aspects, but it's also like, And yeah, to your point, what they do with pay-per-views is usually like at least a B plus, if not better. Like every time it seems like they seem to hit home runs every time when it comes to pay-per-views. But it's the consistent week to week things that really don't set it intriguing. And to be honest, though, these guys and gals that they're having going up against these, you have to familiarize a whole audience with a lot of this talent. And then, so will the matches be good? I'm sure they will. But will it hit the same note as previous AEW pay-per-views? I have a little bit of reservations about that.
I think they're still in a building period. I think they're still trying to refine themselves from the debacle of the CM Punk stuff and everything like that falling out. But I ultimately think that they have enough where if they can get on the right track, by All In, we should be seeing some compelling stuff. I just think Forbidden Door, like to your point, as a novelty event, it is wearing off a little bit, not because I think WWE is doing it now and doing it better, but I think the idea of, oh my God, these companies are crossing over is sort of, flatlining a little bit. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's kind of like the whole idea of Forbidden Door now seems to be should be out of wrestling in general because everybody's doing it now.
It's kind of like the concept of a multiverse in the movies. Like the MCU was huge.
Yes.
And now everybody does a multiverse and it's kind of played out. I think it's exciting right now over on the WWE end because it was like, wow, they're acknowledging TNA on WWE programming and you're seeing clips of Against All Odds and you're so conditioned from the WWE perspective to think that that's exciting. But for AEW, they do it all the time.
Yes.
So it's not the same.
It isn't the same. What else was a big takeaway for you on Dynamite? Was there anything that stood out, good or bad for you?
You mentioned Swerve and Ospreay. I thought it was a good exchange. I do think that right now it's going to be interesting to see how the booking goes there because a lot of people think Swerve is too early to lose it. But how do you not say, well, Ospreay is the hottest guy in the company? Strap every belt to him and just let him go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it would behoove AEW and Swerve to turn Swerve heel, or is that you're getting too much of him, playing on different sides of the field here when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I don't think he needs to turn heel. I just think, okay, one of the overarching problems that I personally see when I'm watching AEW is week to week, it doesn't feel like they're committed to any specific, this week, this guy's a heel, this guy's babyface. On any given week, the Don Callis family could have Ospreay, but it doesn't. There's always something there, know? And I think Swerve should stay a babyface because he's got this huge wave of momentum behind him. I just think you're putting him up against someone who he can't beat clean, and it's going to present some issues. And honestly, going into Wembley, I'm not so convinced that Ospreay shouldn't be the world champion going into Wembley.
I'm kind of with you, to be honest. But you know what? I kind of more so it'd be A-okay if Swerve kept the title and then you have him defend it against somebody else that's not Will Ospreay. I think you can create a compelling match for Ospreay still at Wembley. He doesn't have to be in the world title picture. I get it. It's in his home country and, it's in a bigger, stadium in front of his like hometown fans and all that stuff. But there's a lot of compelling matchups you can still create for him. Ryan Droste, who's subbed in for me, or her subbed in for Zach Haydorn today on 1TS Daily, mentioned how cool it would kind of be to even have Swerve versus Hangman 3. And you could do that with or without the title even. So I think you can present some still compelling matchups and not necessarily have Ospreay be in the title picture because he's a long-term player for you. Your plan to go back to Wembley will be another year from then. I don't think you have to make this happen right immediately now just because you have Ospreay and you have him on this certain trajectory and he is your top star. I think I don't think he necessarily has to be in the title picture if you're looking to maybe make Danielson the guy or somebody like that. So I don't know, Robert, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right. First of all, I do think Hangers On his way back, I think he'll be number 5
The
for the
wild card.
elite.
Double J, baby.
I don't know if he'll be wild card, but I think he'll be number 5 in the Blood and Guts for the elite. Because if you remember, the elite fired Kenny from the group, but merely suspended Hangman from the group. So Hanger's not in the elite, and I think Swerve is definitely going to be opposite Young Bucks in the steel cage. But as far as Wembley, he could be a good wild card. I would love to see Hanger, Jeff Jarrett. I'm probably the only person in wrestling media who actively is like, let's see Jeff Jarrett in all these singles matches.
I want to see Jeff Jarrett go the distance.
But I think right now, if gun to my head, my pick is Ricochet for the wild card.
Seriously, wow. Do you think he'll be ready by that? When is that match happening? Did they announce that yet?
They have not announced when that match is happening.
Okay. So that would be very intriguing. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Right? I definitely think if it is Hanger, we could see Hanger go the distance. If it's not, I think Danielson maybe winning a world title at Wembley and having a little bit of a farewell run is a fun idea to me.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to touch upon with Dynamite before we move on. No, that's kind of it.
Well, they did
cut out for them a little bit, to be honest.
They did give the brackets.
They did give the brackets. Yeah.
Did you see anything from the men or the women that really excites you?
No, I was just disappointed, to be honest, with Pac and Claudio going one-on-one right off the bat. Like, it's just like both those guys are kind of in the same spot when it comes to a position in AEW with like, hey, they've lost in the shuffle names, and Pac has been more so injury plagued, but to put those guys up against one another in the opening round and then just have Pac somebody losing that, it did not benefit either one of those guys. I don't think. I mean, you're telling a story with Pac, and I'm excited to see him and Danielson. That's the match it's going to be.
Yeah,
the match. So it's like I'm excited to see that, but. Yeah, I think the big story takeaway, unless they really throw a huge curveball with this wild card, is going to be what Danielson does in this tournament. And to speak to a different level of how they've positioned Danielson, and that's kind of been his own self-inflicted stuff, is him not being put in that top world title position. And I think AEW needs that. They need that more than anything. Like, you have one of the greatest wrestlers of all time on your roster, and he still has not won your world championship.
I think if Tony Khan was here instead of me right now, he would agree with every word you just said. I think the only person actively saying Bryan Danielson doesn't need the world championship is Bryan Danielson. So, that just sort of is what it is.
Yeah. It's a head scratcher. I get he wants to help people out, but I think Tony's got to be like probably what he did with Sting was like, hey, I know you want to do the favors, but we got to have you win.
Yeah, if I was Tony, I'd be yelling, no, you're winning my world. I want your name in the lineage of my world champions. So you're winning the belt at Wembley, and you can drop it in Seattle at Wrestle Dream in your final match as a full-time guy.
Yeah. Here's an interesting thought from Wrestling Old Head. What if Ospreay loses at Forbidden Door and then enters as the wild card in the Owen tournament?
I hear ya. I don't know if that will happen. I imagine we might see who the wild card is before then. But I like this comment here from Dre Owens.
Yes.
Dre,
or a wild card with Shelton Benjamin.
I am a big believer in Shelton Benjamin. I think he was shafted early on in his WWE career. I think in a different era, that guy would have absolutely gotten the chance to run with a world title. He's still a super athlete. Would love to see him get the break. If it's him, I would not complain.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. I am more an advocate for what Antonio Santos said. Jeff Jarrett needs to win it all. We need more Jarrett.
I am a believer that even if it's on a throwaway Rampage, I want to see Jeff Jarrett against Bryan Danielson for like 25 minutes.
Yes.
I think Jeff Jarrett is phenomenal. I'm not just saying that because I know he's also on this platform, ad-free shows, but Jeff Jarrett is legitimately one of the best all-round, everything you could ever ask for in wrestling, and Jeff Jarrett's the man.
He is the man. Want him to go to the distance. Imagine him and Danielson in the freaking finals at Calgary. That's a money match. People would the your small demographic you have on social media would trash it. Your wrestling diehards of AEW would want to be able to trash it, but there is nobody better right now. I think overall, from a veteran standpoint, from ability to tell a story to everything that's active right now in the business than Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, I agree. I've always felt that Double J is fantastic, and I'm glad he's getting a chance to work with this roster as well. And I don't think he'll go the distance, but like the wrestling old head says, Danielson Jarrett would be a great TV match. And that's one I want to see before Bryan Danielson hangs it up.
Agreed. Hey guys, and if you want to go the distance in the bedroom, guess what? This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up. BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed physicians or medical provider, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online, so you don't need visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the US of A. Oh, Jim Duggan, and prepared and shipped and direct to your door in a discreet package. You could be missing out on the best sex of your life. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Very nice.
I saw a comment earlier asking when the next episode of Working Stiff was.
Ooh.
Brother, BlueChew.com, you're working stiff day and night.
And yes, Working Stiff is actually being uploaded as we're recording right now.
Yeah, it is.
Right when you're done tuning into this here, I think his name was Robert too. I can't remember here, but right when you're done tuning in this, tune into that. Yeah, it was Robert. So, yes, if you want to look at it, it's a good episode too. They cover some fun stuff on there, and I join in for a little bit too as well. Hey, from Blue Chew to the Blue Brand. Let's talk a little SmackDown on Friday. I kind of forgot a lot of the stuff that was going on with SmackDown, with all the stuff that happened with Wyatt 6, kind of took it all over.
Yeah.
Then I'm looking at the little preview of what WWE offered, and wow, we got some really intriguing stuff set up tonight. CM Punk returns to Chicago. On the Raw brand, kind of weird that he's just showing up on SmackDown. I don't know how that's really happening.
I mean, well, he said in the post-Clash media scrum that they were allowing him to skip Raw to go to Chicago because the idea is he's going to see his doctors and hopefully he's going to Chicago to announce, I'm cleared to compete.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. See, I didn't catch any of the media scrum stuff. Yeah. How was it set up? Was it set up differently, Robert? What you watched?
Only in the sense that there was a brief start of the show where they set the stage for the press conference, but mostly it was exactly what they normally are.
Yeah.
Except there was a bit more Kathy Kelly just, directing traffic, but it wasn't like they completely changed format from what the pressers have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the one clip of CM Punk not being a fan of fantasy booking, which is pretty funny.
I just think that was so funny because the guy really just went for it. Hey, I think you should be in Hell in a Cell with Drew McIntyre. What do you think about that? And Punk shut him down nicely. He was just like, hey, brother, look, all due respect, take that fantasy booking stuff elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, man. I tell you what, I've said this to you before, I think, Robert, but I think wrestling media deserves all the trash it gets because, listen, there is some bad questions there. And there's people that act unprofessional at those things. And on top of it, too, it's, hey, you kind of got to understand the landscape of it all, too. This is not, people don't go to school for wrestling journalism. They go for, pro sports and things like that. There's a certain etiquette and protocol that gets seen. So a lot of these people that go to these things, they're fans. And, we all pretty much grew up as fans, but the aspect of it happening like that, you're gonna get your t-shirt wearers and
I will grant them this leniency though. There's not a lot of sports pressers that kick off with the first guy saying, "I'm not starting to answer a single question until you all rise for the world championship."
That's a fair point. You don't have to play into character with that kind of stuff. But Matt Camp made a fun point too that on his show that like when Triple H comes out, the media doesn't have to clap for him. It's not your job to do that stuff. You're like you can sit there. Like it's like watching a sport. If you're there at a Penguins game, Mark Madden's not clapping for the Penguins. Like he might be a fan of that sport, but he's not clapping for them. You kind of know the levels of what you have to do and what you're not wearing a Penguin.
Yeah, but it's a tough line to walk though, because they really sometimes like when you go to the AEW ones, and sometimes Tony Storm is just doing a whole soliloquy in character, and it's just like, oh, that's it. So what am I getting here? Is it work? Is it shoot? What am I doing? So I understand a little bit of that, give and take. I did think it was weird that everyone else had their theme music and Triple H just kind of walked out. No Motorhead. He's just Paul Levesque now wearing his glasses. But, I got to give him, I give everybody credit because that's a tough spot to be in. And I'm sure when you take on roles like the ones we have at Media Sites, you're not thinking, or you didn't get into it thinking, my God, I'm going to be able to interview Triple H. I'm going to be able to ask Triple H a question. So there is a little bit of that starstruck aspect of it still. But yeah, some of it needs to be, I wouldn't be throwing around fantasy booking questions, especially not at CM Punk.
Yeah. It's probably a poor choice that he made there. Poor decision making. Yeah, I could talk about that for hours, that subject for hours all the time. But let's preview a little bit more SmackDown. They also previewed Cody Rhodes. How will he respond to the Bloodlines attack? And this will segue into this because I think we'll just close it out with the SmackDown preview of this show. So the plans, according to Dave Meltzer for SummerSlam for Cody, Summerfest, as Jeremy Piven once called it, was that Cody will be going up against Solo Sikoa. Do you think that's a good SummerSlam matchup, Robert? Or does this kind of seem like you're putting them? You're kind of easy to predict what's going to happen at that one. You're right.
I think it's a good way to go if you don't have one Dwayne Johnson for SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good way to go. But I want to segue into this because WWE trademarked Caesar Sikoa.
Caesar Sikoa.
Now, I don't know what you think about that. If you think that's a name for a certain someone coming in, I happen to think that Solo is just literally going full Roman. And he is now Caesar.
I like that. Because you know what? He's not Solo anymore.
He's not Solo.
And didn't they
He's now the head. He is Caesar. And, I think that's a fun name for him. Because, I mean, Roman Reigns and his Roman Empire, like, it's just, I think there's layers. Personally. But I think, Solo versus Cody is the way to go. The only thing I don't like about this Bloodline thing so far is that they haven't given Solo any wins. Put him, just have him squash a bunch of people on SmackDown. Just have him run through everybody.
I'm with you on that. I did not know that trademark. And that's really fascinating. And I like it. And you know what? Just that simple fact of what they do with that name potentially and him kind of moving, the story is already intriguing to me if they make it go to SummerSlam with Cody and Caesar. I like it. Give me Caesar. Yeah. I hope it's in homage to Cesar Romero, the guy that played the Joker in the original Batman.
I'm a big fan of Cesar Romero, big fan of Batman. I could go on that all day, so I won't get sidetracked. But I do think we'll see Roman Reigns by the end of SummerSlam. Remember how Brock came back when Roman beat John? I think we could see that where Solo loses, but Roman's back.
See, that would be cool. That would be, man. Yeah, there's a lot of good options. And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I am okay with it being Solo / Caesar going up against Cody at SummerSlam, because that means they're not going to rush in or try to shoehorn in a huge feud with Cody and Randy Orton. I think if you ultimately have Cody lose the title at some point, him going up against Randy Orton is a good way to supplement them not having the title, and because they have such a history with one another. But the
I
title
think
that would be great too.
that might be your September October feud. I could see Cody, Randy going into a cell together.
Yes.
Not to fantasy book Hell in a Cells, but I do think that those dudes need to lock up sooner rather than later, and that's going to be a great story when they do, because I thought the story was strong enough that if you just wanted to, have Cody finish the story against anybody but Roman, it could have been Randy. That story is strong. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of fun to be had when we get to Cody versus Randy.
Right. Yeah, Randy's kind of having a bit of a renaissance again too, which is fun to see. And so, like, you can put him in different positions, and he'll kind of flourish right now. Whether that's a heel or a babyface, I'm okay with that. So yes. Oh, speaking of Randy, he will be in triple threat action to potentially qualify for the Money in the Bank, but he'll be going up against the right hand man Tama Tonga and Carmelo Hayes.
That's an interesting one,
isn't it? So what do you? That's a hard one to predict, to be honest.
That's a bit of a toss up. If we're assuming that there might be a last chance thing, I could see maybe everybody but Randy getting in there, because I'm sure Randy doesn't want to be taking ladder bumps and climbing ladders.
Yes.
If I had to go with just one to win tonight, I'm going Carmelo, because I think Randy and Tama Tonga could potentially be in opposite ends of a 6-man going into Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Robert. I think Carmelo would be a fun one because, look at what he's capable of doing from an athletic standpoint. You save the bumps for Randy Orton. And Carmelo has shown up on SmackDown and been a viable competitor on there, but he hasn't really gotten a big win. So this would be a really big win for him. And you're kind of putting momentum behind him and giving a little bit of intrigue of like what fun kind of stuff we can expect in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So I like it. I like it, Robert. Do you like the idea that potentially Shane McMahon could go to AEW?
I think it's fun. I think in a world where if you're ever gonna have a McMahon outside of WWE anyway, it's gonna be Shane. And I think there's a lot of fun that could be had from just an on-character perspective. There's not a lot known as far as like a behind-the-scenes mind and what Shane brings to the table in that regard. But I think as an on-screen character, Shane McMahon could have a lot of fun. Just Shane McMahon, Orange Cassidy could have a lot of fun. 20 years ago, yes, maybe not today, but still, Shane McMahon, Darby Allin could be a lot of fun. Just a pairing, or as opponents. I would like to see Shane in AEW, even if I know that it's probably never going to happen. I do think stranger things have happened, and it would be a lot of fun.
How do you think that? We'll close it with this. How do you think that would do for AEW's reputation to have a McMahon in their fold? Like, would it elevate them? Would it hinder them, considering what Vince has gone through? Or were you kind of following that?
It would hinder them. I mean, like they're diehards. Don't want any. They barely want any WWE guys. Like, so from the perspective of your core audience, I do think it would hinder them. But at the same time, I think
mainstream. No, I don't.
From mainstream, yeah, people are gonna tune in.
Yeah,
if you go to McMahon, yeah, people are gonna tune in. I assure you of that. But I'm just thinking from like that goodwill perspective and the reputation that they've built up, I'm sure it would kind of hinder it a little bit. But I do think people would definitely tune in. I would tune in.
Yeah, you have to remember, Robert, this is the wrestling business. So we're a bunch of carnies, okay? Not necessarily, but what we cover has been birthed on the carnival grounds. So from a morality standpoint and versus a money standpoint, guess what's going to win?
Yeah, I mean, money. Trust me when I tell you, money always wins.
Money always wins. Yes. And I feel like a winner today because I had Robert DeFelice sub in.
Well, thank you.
Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on?
Yeah, I can be found on Fightful.com 7 days out of the week, helping Sean Ross Sapp and the team over there with news. You can find me everywhere at social media at Dude Felice. You can check out DudeFelice.com to see where my other writing is, because I may be elsewhere pretty soon. I'm also part of One True Sport. Dom has, been so nice to help me, give me a spot with that team over there. And I'm hanging out with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne and having a lot of fun over there with Dom.
Yeah, and hey, we just recorded yesterday, Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, Greg Gagne. We cover a lot of modern ground, kind of the state of AEW in certain ways, but we really put a focus on the Young Bucks. And then we do a lot of fan questions. Very fun episode. You'll be able to catch that early if you sign up as a member for One True Sport, but you can also catch it every Tuesday morning on the 4horsemanetwork.com. So be on the lookout for that. Also, Rob Van Dam and I recorded a new episode of One of a Kind with RVD. Man, he tells a great story about Stan Hansen and what him having a match with him, their relationship, how it grew from All Japan to later on, and him kind of getting the final pat on the back by Stan Hansen about what he did in the ring. So really cool stuff. We also covered cults in wrestling, stemming off the Wyatt Six conversation. And then Cody Rhodes, would he like to face him for the WWE Championship? Tune in. You can catch it early on One True Sport, or you'll have to wait till Monday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to actually get the episode. So be on the lookout for that. Working Stiff, well, I mentioned it. It is up now, guys. So right when you're done tuning into this, you can check out Scott Chaplin and Dan St. Germain covering the Wyatt Six, covering their thoughts on AEW Dynamite, and a lot of fun conversation on that one. I was cracking up some of the jokes were being made. Great stuff on there. But yes, Rumor and Innuendo, you can check us out here live on the ad-free shows YouTube if we're not getting bumped by that dastardly Jeff Jarrett. Or we're alive on the Rumor and Innuendo YouTube, Working Stiff YouTube, WE Creative _ish on X, my X down at Dominic DeAngelo, and Podcast Heat X, as well as SE Scoops X. Man, what a way to close out a Friday. Robert, you made the hot tag. You came in here.
Always.
You got that baby face pop. That fighting spirit continues on. But I'm going to fire you right now. So, Robert, good luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah, you can't fire me. I quit.
You're fired, Robert.